My family is forcing me to give up my wedding venue to my sister. My sister, the golden child of the family, is pregnant and needs the wedding venue more than I do. My fiancé and I have been together for 8 years and engaged for 3. I was doing my PhD and planning the wedding at the same time. My fiancé took care of most of the work, and everything was perfect because the venue of our dreams was booked until after my graduation. So, we reserved the venue 3 years in advance. It's really a beautiful place, and the only available slot was in September of this year. My sister got engaged a few months ago and planned to marry next spring. They didn't have a venue booked but had some vendors and a set date. Yesterday, our parents invited us and our partners to a family barbecue where my sister announced to the extended family that she was pregnant. Everyone was very happy for her and my brother-in-law, who is a great guy. My grandmother asked my sister if the wedding would still be on the set date or if they would wait because of the baby. My sister said no, she hoped to move it to September. We don't have many out-of-town guests, so they could attend both weddings without a problem. My grandmother was happy and asked my sister if she needed help planning a wedding on such short notice. My sister replied that's what she wanted to talk about. She really hoped we could use my venue. She couldn't stress too much planning a wedding while attending maternity classes and thought it was such a beautiful place. It would mean a lot to her. There was silence, but everyone looked at me expecting me to say yes. Of course, anything for my little sister. My fiancé looked very uncomfortable, and I said we had already talked about this and it wasn't right to put me in this situation. But my sister simply said don't be like that. My sister wants the best for me, so it's no big deal, right? I just said well, actually it is. I am really set on this place. She started crying and ran away. My grandmother told me I was being selfish because my sister needed the venue more than I did. I tried to defend myself, and my mother said you waited 3 years. Would it kill you to wait a few more months? When has your sister asked you for anything? After a few more comments, my fiancé got very angry, and we left. My sister called me crying and said it was unfair that I always got what I wanted and that I could have done this for her. My father said it was just a place and what matters is the person you marry. But we have been planning this for so long. My fiancé is furious with my family and doesn't want my sister to come to the wedding. Now my family is threatening not to come because I'm selfish and my sister needs it more because having a baby is too stressful. My brother-in-law called me and apologized for the inconvenience. He told me he had discussed it with my sister, and she had said she wouldn't ask. Now he is very angry with her and warned me that my sister blames me for potentially ruining her marriage. My father has sent me about 5 messages, like I hope you're happy. Your sister hasn't stopped crying since yesterday and things like that. My fiancé and I have decided to remove my sister from the bridal party and replace her with my aunt, who is the only family member who took my side. We haven't decided if we will invite my family at all. Additionally, my mother took the liberty of calling my fiancé's parents and telling them it would be better if my sister had the venue because she's pregnant and preeclampsia runs in the family, whatever that means. My future father-in-law told them to go to hell and basically tore into my mother for expecting something so ridiculous, saying they would lose me if they continued playing favorites. So now my mother is also crying and saying my father-in-law is a jerk. This is getting so pathetic that it feels like a bad soap opera. My in-laws are coming over with some dinner and wine and basically told me not to worry, that whatever happens, they will be my safety net.
Il criait tears of joy.
Not much time has passed, but this story went viral. I expected just a few responses, but the support was overwhelming, which left me perplexed as this story flooded the mainstream media. But back to the story, my sister saw this story while browsing her account and lost her mind. She accused me of painting her as a lunatic and distorting the facts. My sister learned about the situation through several news outlets and went into detail. She said I was being unfair, that we are family, and she asked me kindly because she loves me. She also emphasized that the opinion of strangers on the internet doesn't count because family is more important, and I should focus on making my family happy. The only message I sent her was, I'm sorry you perceived it that way. In no way did I distort what happened. As you will notice, I did not describe your tone or exaggerate anything. Maybe you remember that night differently than I do, but I am tired of bending to your will. All my life I have been your servant and doormat. Remember all the birthdays I had to share with you because you threw a tantrum because you didn't get gifts, or when you cried so I would fill out job applications for you. But what hurt me the most so far is when you ruined my graduation. I'm done. I admit I also spoiled you, but I won't do it anymore. If you want to get married before your baby is born, you could look for a hotel that offers last-minute weddings. I have spent too much time planning my wedding to give it to you. And if you want to ruin our relationship over this, go ahead. I will sleep well and secure knowing it wasn't my fault. She only sent me a "wow, you must love me a lot," and blocked me. She unblocked me this morning to send me this, a message from the wedding planner. Hello dear, I received your mother's message and will proceed with the venue rescheduling. However, this will incur additional costs as we have to change the names on the contract. Please come to my office tomorrow to sign the new contract. My sister replied, great, I'll be there at 9. My parents haven't written to me since the incident with my father-in-law. My older brother, yes, I have an older brother, but he lives in another city and wasn't at the barbecue, so I didn't mention him. Also, initially, he couldn't come to the wedding because of work and changed his plans after hearing all the stories. He contacted me and wanted to know what happened because he got a strange story from my mom and dad. My mom told him that I had offered before the barbecue to give the venue to my sister and that I humiliated her. I told him what really happened, and he had no problem believing me. We talked a lot about our parents' behavior, and he confessed that his move was partly because our parents were, and I quote, idiots to us. He told me that my mom found out about the post and was mad at me for betraying the family. I haven't written to my parents, as many of you advised, because I have to accept the fact that they love my sister more than me if they love me at all. The wedding, we sat down together and shared passwords with most of our vendors and also with the venue. We haven't directly talked to our planner yet, so my sister's message worries me so much. We also canceled the catering paid for by my parents, so in the short term, we won't be able to have a full catering as we wanted. But all our friends and my fiancé's family will help us prepare a buffet, and everyone will contribute. That will be our bachelor and bachelorette party. We will have to spend more on our food now that we canceled our bachelor and bachelorette parties, and we'll have a cooking session with family and friends. Thank you again for helping me see how toxic my family is. I will try to fix it if they apologize from the bottom of their hearts. They will be allowed to come to my wedding, but if not, well, I still have my brother who will walk me down the aisle and my aunt. We called my planner, and she was really horrified. She told me she had never spoken to my mother since the day we went to book the venue. She assured me that even if they called and said I wanted to make changes, I had to be present to make any changes. So we informed all the vendors that they would work for us at our wedding, and they offered to hire security for that day at a reduced price. Here's the graduation story I promised. Hulk smashes the graduation cake. Some asked for the graduation story I mentioned in my last post, and since I'm sick and bored, I'll tell it. This wasn't long ago, so I remember it quite well. It was the day I handed in my thesis and presented it. A German tradition is that once you complete your PhD, you get one of those black graduation caps with pictures, memes, and small toys that best describe you glued to them. So I got something I absolutely loved. One of the things glued to my cap was gummy bears because I constantly ate them. We booked a small room at the university to celebrate. My fiancé and friends had decorated it and provided coffee, snacks, drinks, etc. Additionally, my fiancé had made a beautiful cake, one of those with handmade marshmallow fondant and a color gradient that goes from yellow to pink. Really a beautiful cake. Eventually, after nibbling, talking, and even dancing a little, it was time for the speeches. My friends and my boss said how proud they were, etc. Then came my fiancé. He talked about all my achievements in life up to this point. My sister absolutely lost control. I mean, she screamed and cried as if I had killed her cat. My mom was signaling my fiancé to stop his speech and ran to my sister. My dad was already kneeling next to her, calming her down. Everyone was a bit lost at that point. My mom came up to me and asked me to give a short speech mentioning my sister's achievements and all that. I asked why. My mom told me that my sister had been rejected from her master's program and that was the reason for her breakdown. I guess I looked upset because my mom got annoyed and said, you know what, forget it. Then she told my dad, who had managed to calm my sister, to take her home. My dad took her by the arm, and they started to leave. And oh God, when my sister saw the cake, she lost control again. She was crying like a maniac and then destroyed my damn cake. Everyone went silent. My dad dragged her out without even apologizing. My mom just muttered, my poor baby. Then I started crying. My friends and fiancé came to cheer me up, but my mom was texting my dad to see if my sister was okay. She followed me to the bathroom and scolded me for not acting when I saw my sister crying. I told her I was hurt by all the scenes. My mom simply said I had to understand my little sister because it was a difficult time for her and she didn't have as fancy a graduation as mine. Then she left. We tried to continue the celebration, but it really wasn't possible. We went home early. When I went to get my cap, I found that the pack of gummy bears that was glued on had been torn off. As I later found out, that was what my sister was doing because she craved gummy bears.